we're finding out because of the Department of Government Efficiency that most of this was funded by our own tax dollars, which is really fucking crazy.
Now, this is another one that I mean, this is like 12 conspiracies. Another one that they're pushing now is even that like shows like mine, without my knowledge, are funded by USAID through shadowy nonprofits who then come and buy ads on the show. Just completely made up. And it's funny that Rogan has fallen hook, line, and sinker for Doge is finding all of this stuff. Doge still has not found a single instance of demonstrated fraud that they have proven.
David Pakman is having a meltdown because he tried to contact Joe Rogan and he got absolutely ignored. And he's also now losing his mind over other standpoints that Joe Rogan has and Elon Musk and all the other stuff that these leftists always have meltdowns about. Let's check out David Pakman absolutely losing his mind over Joe Rogan going full conspiracy, is what he says in his title here, and says that Joe Rogan may be beyond help. I don't know, man. I don't watch Joe Rogan on a daily basis, but I have never seen him say anything that's extremely unreasonable. Even the things that Joe Rogan says, because there's a lot of it that I disagree with, I can still see how it's a reasonable thing for him to say. So to say that Joe Rogan is beyond help is pretty wild, but let's see what David Pakman has to say here.
You know, I recently tried to get in touch with Joe Rogan. I said, I'm going to be in Texas for book-related stuff. I would love to be on. I did not hear back from Rogan. And as many of you know, I've been on the Rogan show twice. I don't know that I am eligible to be back on, in the sense that when I've found that Rogan says something I disagree with over the last few years, I criticize it. And I always couch it as, this doesn't mean I personally hate the guy. This doesn't mean we couldn't have a good conversation. In fact, I would welcome the opportunity to try to figure out what is it that happened with Rogan? Was it moving to Texas and changing the people around him that changed his views on so many issues? What was it? So in any case, for me, none of this stuff is personal. I did not hear back from Rogan. So I don't think I'm going to be back on. In the midst of this, I was sent this clip of Rogan speaking to actor Woody Harrelson. This is really tough to watch. I won't even preview what's in it. Let's just jump in.
Comedy Mothership.
Yeah, I'd like to do that.
It's fun. It's a great place. My buddy Jimmy Dore is there this weekend, who's also great. And he's filming his comedy special there this weekend.
Really?
Yeah, Jimmy Dore is amazing. He's another guy that's risen as an independent journalist. He's a comedian.
So first of all, I do not believe that Jimmy Dore is a journalist, but I also don't believe that I'm a journalist. I don't think any of us are journalists. I think we are all commentators. We're just giving our opinions on things. And this is already a media literacy problem that we have in this country. Is it reporting or is it commentary?
And he started his show basically just making fun of political things. And then during the pandemic,
if you enjoy content like this, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
Vaccine injured and really got kind of red pilled and kind of became like the voice of truth and reason. And, you know,
he was vaccine injured. And now we can, as a result of the injury, we can now count on Jimmy Dore to tell us the truth.
Another guy who's been completely outcast by supposedly progressive people for just telling the truth.
Now, of course, I don't even know that it's accurate to say Jimmy Dore has been outcast by progressive people. This is one of the things that's really important to understand. When you change your views and you go, hey, actually the vaccines are fill in the blanks, everything Jimmy Dore has said, which isn't true. And it doesn't really seem like Trump's actually that bad. And, you know, I don't want to misquote Jimmy Dore, but, you know, this kind of playing coy with like, I'm as left as anyone, but like Harris, no, you know, Trump's actually not what people say. Once you start doing that, it's not that you're outcast because you're willing to tell some truth that nobody on the left wants to hear. You just lose any connection to the values and principles of progressivism, which include that we follow the science, we try to separate our feelings from the facts, we oppose authoritarianism, and this is the kind of scariest part. There's a lot of people in what I refer to as the revolutionary left, which I don't even really know that is the left. There is a a wing or a sort of through line of people who at some point considered themselves to be nominally on the left, who are just enamored with authoritarianism and often authoritarian leaders and authoritarian dictators.
I guess he's talking about people like Joe Rogan and people like Russell Brand and people like Anna Kasparian. And I guess by enamored, he means that they're following them. They're following people like Donald Trump and Elon Musk and authoritarians like them, authoritarians that, you know, casually just give up the White House whenever they lose an election. That's a real authoritarian. Didn't try to use the military against the people, didn't try to use the military to keep the White House, anything like that. That seems like a pretty weak authoritarian to me. I find it absolutely hilarious that David Pakman just described the left as the side that tries to follow the science and put emotion to the side and oppose authoritarianism, when the left are the people. I mean, dude, they elected Joe Biden. They elected a literal vessel, empty vessel of a human being. They try to follow the science and oppose authoritarianism. I mean, for the longest time, we weren't even allowed to entertain the idea that the 2020 virus came from a lab in China. We weren't even allowed to entertain that idea. And then all of a sudden it became okay. I don't know if that's necessarily following the science. And for the longest time, we were locked down. I don't know how long did the lockdowns last, for like a year or something like that? I can't even remember. It feels like a decade ago that happened. But that is not following the science. And I understand Donald Trump was, you know, he definitely called the shot on the first lockdown, right? But then the part that I'm talking about where they're not following the science is that in the lead up to the 2020 presidential election, every single Democrat, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, every single Democrat you can think of came out and said, I would never take a Trump jab. I would never do that. Never take Trump's jab. Never take Trump's jab. And then all of a sudden, Joe Biden wins the election and everybody has to take the jab. Not only are they all taking it on camera, they're getting recorded, taking it, and they're saying that it's great, but everybody's forced to do it or else you can't go inside of a restaurant. How in the hell is that following the science? How is it even close to following the science? You know? And then the opposing authoritarianism part. How is it opposing authoritarianism to support someone like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and these people? Like, I know David Pakman supports. How is it opposing authoritarianism to support them trying to weaponize the DOJ against Donald Trump? It didn't fully work, but they did their absolute best to weaponize the DOJ against their political opponent. I mean, I feel like that's much more authoritarian than anything Donald Trump did. And I know for a fact David Pakman would disagree with that, but I think it's the truth. And I'm gladly be proven wrong in the comments. So let me know if I'm wrong on that. But I feel like every single thing that he used to describe the left right there is wrong. And the thing is, I think David Pakman genuinely thinks that he described the left properly. And that's why the disconnect in this country is never going to be fixed. Because both sides seemingly think that they are the side of good, and they're very much bought into that fact. Now, I believe that the left is delusional, but they also believe that I'm delusional and thinking that my side is the good side. So that's why I'm just completely blackpilled on this. And I just think that the country's never going to be fixed. It's never going to be solved. Both sides are so bought in. They're so convinced that they are right. And people like David Pakman and the left are so convinced that they represent certain things that, to me, it's very, very obvious that they don't represent. But let's see what else David Pakman has to say about Joe Rogan here.
And there's really nothing there that is leftism as I recognize it, where leftism is really libertarian, small L libertarian, where you say, let's get out of people's lives, except for places where we have a really good case that government should be involved. There are things that are too big to just handle in the libertarian way. And then we say government should be involved there. Healthcare would be one of them. Collecting taxes would be another one of them. Doing the roads would be another one of them. Military would be another one. So like the hyper libertarian would say, government shouldn't even do military. We should leave it to private armies and they can be contracted for. No, right? So the small L libertarianism of the left that I recognize and consider myself a part of would say, a lot of this stuff, let's just keep the government out. I don't need the government directing, how we do mobile phone development. Let's let Apple and Samsung and whoever, right? But in some areas, I don't want the libertarian version of mercenary armies. Let's have the government do military. Okay, you guys get it. The problem is that the rhetoric of a lot of this populism has started to become indistinguishable left and right. and then they start playing coy with authoritarianism. And then we go, guys, there's nothing on the left that we recognize here. So I don't care about Jimmy Dore in the sense of saying we have cast him out from the left. I just don't hear him say anything that still places him on the left. He has segregated himself by virtue of what he has started to say. No one has cast him out. All right, let's continue.
Inconvenient truth.
Inconvenient. But yeah, I guess the progressives, are they
By the way, Woody Harrelson seems to have no idea what's going on.
now the conservatives? We got to change the term, because progressives seem a lot less progressive.
Yeah.
I really felt quite, during this whole thing, I felt quite,
I think they got co-opted, and I think it was on purpose. I think there was some very sophisticated psychological
This is the Alex Jones PSYOP perspective.
manipulation that was involved, and a lot of money was being spent.
I wish they told us who spent the money and how, and also kind of like why too.
In order to push some.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, I would rather not say the names. I wish people like Joe Rogan, who don't have to rely on any sort of platform, would say the name. I don't know if I'm allowed to or not, but I would say, like, Jobs and those sorts of people that I'm not gonna list off. But like whenever people refer to the elites, it's those people. And the reason why, and Joe Rogan is correct here in that these people did get psyoped into thinking a certain way. And the reason why is because they want to make us easier to control. Like, how, I feel like I've said this a million times, and I feel like I've heard it a million times too. I can't believe people still oppose this. And it's wild to me, because you say, like, David Pakman and everybody on the left says that they're opposing authoritarianism, and yet they act like authoritarianism's PR team. And they defend it as if it's not happening, as if these people, as if David Pakman doesn't know who it is that's running these psyops on the American population. They're trying to make us easier to control. They're trying to break up the nuclear family. They're trying to make us more depressed. They're trying to make us feminized by putting estrogen in the waters and turning the freaking frogs gay. Like, it's the truth, though. Like, it's funny as hell, but it's the truth. Like, they really are doing that. They're trying to make us easier to control. And I just don't know. I don't know why David Pakman acts as if he doesn't understand this, because he's too smart to not understand it. Let me know in the comments why you think.
Very specific narratives.
For what reason?
And they did a great job of it. They did a great job of it, but we're finding out because of the Department of Government Efficiency that most of this was funded by our own tax dollars, which is really fucking crazy.
Now, this is another one that this is like 12 conspiracies. Another one that they're pushing now is even that, like, shows like mine, without my knowledge, are funded by USAID through shadowy nonprofits who then come and buy ads on the show. Just completely made up. And it's funny that Rogan has fallen hook, line, and sinker for Doge is finding all of this stuff. Doge still has not found a single instance of demonstrated fraud that they have proven. When Caroline Levitt holds up papers and she goes, look, 30 grand for a DEI program. First of all, DEI programs aren't fraud. You might think that they're bullshit. You might think we don't need them, but they're not fraud. And also, we're going to solve this problem 30 grand at a time. I'm sorry, we're not.
Well, they found that they're spending multiple millions of dollars sending condoms to the Taliban, and there was like a trans drag show or something like that that they found that they were spending a lot of money on. I forgot, man. It's all just, look, the way I view politics and all this stuff is it's one big show. I don't know if Doge is actually going to be able to do anything, but I do think it's better that the American people find out about this stuff versus us being in the dark about it. Even if it's not fraud, most of us didn't know that there was millions of dollars being spent on sending condoms to the Taliban. Why do I keep saying columns? Spending condoms to the Taliban. Most of us didn't know that. And I know that the response from the left and from people like David Pakman and Sam Cedar and these people are always, yeah, but it was out there for you to find if you really wanted to find it. It's like, I don't know how the hell to find that. How am I supposed to find it? Am I supposed to hack into the Pentagon's system as if I'm some sort of hacker? I don't know. I don't know where to find it. So maybe I'm being ridiculous with saying that, but I think the average American also would have no idea that we're spending that much money on something so nonsensical. And then there was something else too that they recently found, that there was multi-billions of dollars. And I'm not saying like 2-3 million. I'm saying like 50 million or 30 million to 50 million, somewhere in that range, were being spent on some kind of trans drag show or something in one of these random countries. And it's like, what are we doing? That might not be fraud, right? They might not be completely secretive in them doing that. It might be out there for us to find, but I don't know where the hell to find it. and neither does the average American, right? If they're like, I'm doing this every single day, all day. I'm looking at this stuff. If I don't know what's going on and I don't know where to find it, I'm sure the average American doesn't know. So we at least have a right to know where our tax dollars are going. Even if Doge doesn't find any instances of actual fraud, it's better for us to know these things are happening versus not. Because once it's out in the light, then, they can get a whole bunch of backlash and maybe be forced to fix it and stop doing it. I don't know. Let me know in the comments though what you guys think about David Pakman absolutely melting down over Joe Rogan. I mean, Joe Rogan's cooking. Joe Rogan is exposing a lot of truths here, and I just don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know why David Pakman acts as if he doesn't understand what Joe Rogan is saying and understand who is paying to make the downfall of the Western civilization happen. It blows my mind. But let me know in the comments what you guys think about this whole David Pakman versus Joe Rogan situation.